Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Real Trailer Life. You know, when we were in Indiana, we took a second tour.
We did.
We just want you to come along and see the Brinkley Lamination Factory tour.
It'll be amazing. We loved it.
All right, so here we are in lamination. We're going to be doing a quick, little brief overview of our lamination processes here at Brinkley and what further separates ourselves from, the rest of the RV industry. So
Let's do it.
Without further ado, we'll hop right in.
I love that. Did you see that?
No, what did it say?
Safety glasses and great attitude.
What did I tell you about the core values thing there?
Right?
They take that to heart.
Man, that's awesome. Wow. Oh.
Yeah, so a lot happens back here in lamination. As we kind of touched on the tour, everything from sidewalls to what you see behind us there in small parts, end walls, main floor, like subfloor structure, in both Z's and G's and I's. Actually, Model I and Model Z Air, their floors are going to be composite.
Okay.
So they're built very similar to what our build process is with sidewalls.
Okay.
So they're kind of a sandwich material there. Yeah.
Is this as big as the other buildings?
It is, I think, a little bit larger.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can kind of tell from over there, how much space we have to grow into. So as we continue to add manufacturing facilities, we will continue to add, lamination tables and other lamination rolls over here to meet that, demand.
So they are still using wood in some of them?
So they are stuffing like the bottom pieces, which I was looking for like a built-up sidewall. Yeah, so this is going to be like the bottom piece that's going to get lagged into, not in the top deck area.
Gotcha.
But down below there to where that wood piece is much smaller.
Okay.
So then it's not as...
Easily to split.
Right. Yep. So when you're pushing a big lag through kind of a large piece of wood in there, it's a little easier to split. But they will pre-drill those as well. Is like backer for interior components. So like where you're mounting cabinets and whatnot, you're also trying to hit those studs there when you're mounting.
Lots of aluminum.
Yeah, this is where it all starts back here. So everything, that we described earlier there, small parts, sidewalls, main floor structure, it all starts here with raw aluminum extrusion. There you can see all the inventory of that raw aluminum, all different sizes and shapes. There's your triple hollows there with...
Okay. Wow.
As you can tell, we go through quite a bit of aluminum here at Brinkley. We use all CNC upcut saws. That is going to give us the best tolerance there in all of our cuts. So you can be very precise with those cuts.
And that's what's inside there? Those are the saws?
Yeah, right here. So you have a big saw blade. This saw blade is programmable.
Okay.
So it knows exactly, like if you say, hey, I want, 100 pieces of this, you can stack everything up and it'll cut it to that length.
And
there.
is this robotic?
So not necessarily robotic. It's not automated per se.
Computer controlled.
But it's computer controlled. Yep. Inside this machine here, you have a 20-inch saw blade that comes up and cuts through your stack of, raw aluminum there. And here's for some of the smaller pieces.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is going to be an upcut saw, slightly older CNC machine there. But that one will do angles there as well. This one will not. So once they, size everything over here, then it all gets sorted through this process.
Okay.
4100s.
And then some pieces get stuffed.
3610s and...
Yeah, according to Ben, who he is part of the quality control team here in lamination, they are stuffing So like from the stuffing table where they put all the block foam insulation in, onward, 3100s.
Okay.
Yeah, so then they'll use these parts and pieces here, and they'll take them over to whichever designated welding table that job is going to be done on. And they will have essentially big jigs through here to where they will take all those parts and pieces, lay them out, you know, in just the right order, just the right places, and then they will start going to town welding. As we discussed yesterday, look at the size of these welding hoods. I mean, those are all pulling air, you know, up.
Awesome.
That's why it's not dirty in here. The air remains pretty clean. You can feel the airflow right here.
They sand some of these, huh?
Yep.
To
We
make
were
it.
talking about like how, you know, we do around kind of the slide boxes there. So a lot of those pieces are in that vicinity, to where not only are you getting a chemical bond, but you're also getting a mechanical bond there in that process as well. So it gives that adhesive, something else to kind of bite into. One thing to note here, which maybe we can see over on one of these other tables with a wall that's farther along. So
Oh, yeah.
they will like dual seam weld both sides. So like wherever there's a connection point. Now these are all probably not the best welds to look at because they're still dirty. They haven't been cleaned up.
But that's cool, though. You can
Yeah.
tell where it goes. It's just not, we know it's not cleaned up yet.
Yeah, so like these, like typically other manufacturers, they will just like tack weld those, like little tabs in. They'll tack weld on one side, or they'll full seam weld, like where there's a connection point, you know?
Okay.
They will full seam weld on one side or the other, or they will tack weld both sides. We do dual seam welds on both sides of those connection points. Let's see over here.
So are these hoods then, are they loud, or the fans, or is it just?
No, it's pretty quiet.
That's nice.
The fans are going to be kind of away from this area, but
Okay.
it's working to pull all of that out.
How many people working here, do you know?
Ooh, I want to say just as much as like any one of the other
150,
manufacturing
160.
facilities. 100 to 120 probably, if I had to guess. Yeah, here you can look. So there's a full seam weld, full seam weld, full seam weld, all of those. Also, all along the way, they're going to put, whether it's a sidewall or a main floor, you know, structure there, they're gonna be measuring for in square tolerance, okay? They're gonna make sure that that is square all along the process here. So even through, you know, from cutting to welding, to stuffing, to laminating, to routing on the other side of that, they're going to be checking for that square tolerance all along the way.
Yeah, I mean, if crooked starts here,
Yep.
it's going to be really
Exactly.
crooked
What
out
they're
there.
trying to look for is any kind of twisting in the tubing there. You know, they want to make sure everything is square all the way through the process. You know, we talked about the tight tolerances in our sidewalls. As you said, it all starts essentially from the time you're cutting it to the time you're sorting it, welding it, and then small parts are all going to be manufactured kind of over here. Our bunks, like in a 3110, 295, I think 3610 as well. Like those top bunk pieces
Yeah.
there, those are all laminated as well. So basically built like your sidewall. Same kind of construction process.
That's cool.
So that's almost like a front cap, huh?
Mm-hmm. That is going to be, I think, Model G.
It's big one.
Basically front, like you said, front cap. So they will then put block foam insulation in between all of this. Yeah, so when they finish, you know, welding over here, that part, if it's a sidewall and it needs, you know, foam stuffing there, it will then make its way over into these tables. So you can see those sidewall
Sure.
structures right there. So those are all meant to then get block foam insulation put into it. You have stacks and stacks and stacks of block foam. But that's a Model G sidewall there.
That's hard.
Oh yeah.
How do they get it in there?
But you saw it over there, right? You saw those plastic pieces
Yeah,
laying
yeah.
next to it. I think that they just like rubber mallet, tap them in. So actually, let's go over here because we can see exactly where they kind of grind on
Oh, yeah.
your chassis there. So in that top deck area, here's a slide box opening here. There's your header, below is the footer. So again, that's giving a mechanical bond, working in, kind of a relationship with the chemical bond that's taking place there.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, so you see what that is?
Yeah.
So if you look up here,
Yep.
that's a laser overlay for all your galvanized steel backers.
Uh-huh.
Again, working as anchor points for any kind of cabinetry or interior walls. You're going to have a galvanized steel backer
So then it just-
built into your sidewall. But yeah, that laser overlay will point out exactly where all these
where it goes.
galvanized steel backers go.
How perfect is that?
That's
great.
slick.
Yeah, so no measuring, no guesswork.
That is
It is
smart.
perfect.
Yeah, you can see it right there, too.
Yeah, that's really neat.
A lot of manufacturers, I would say most manufacturers, talking about kind of the bond between your Azdel and the aluminum framing there. Aluminum needs like a catalyst essentially to kind of promote that bond, okay, in lamination. So the catalyst is iodine.
Okay.
So basically they wipe your aluminum with iodine. Typically it's done here, okay, right here in the stuffing department. But by the time it makes its way over to the lamination table, typically that iodine is like worn off. So we are now doing iodine right before it gets onto the lamination table to promote that bond. Yeah, so once they will, complete stuffing there, that wall then all together will move over to the other side here, where then you can start to see the lamination tables through there. This area is all humidity controlled. As you can see the misters up there.
So it wasn't smoke, it was humidity.
Yep. Yeah, so that humidity is what, again, is kind of a catalyst for our hot melt adhesive that we use in lamination. It has to be at 40% humidity.
Oh.
In order for that, it's a humidity activated glue essentially. So in order to have the right amount of humidity, 40% is the number there. Yeah, so that is a completed essentially wall there, fresh from stuffing. The table right behind us here, this is like a giant air hockey table. So they will shoot air up, okay? And then they will take your FRP, your Phylon rolled product, that's this material right here. They'll then roll that out over kind of the course of this table. Yep, roll it all the way out, still with that air running. They'll then get that material in just the right spot there, and then they'll turn the air off and they start to build your wall.
Oh, that is so smart.
So that air, helps to prevent any kind of scratches or anything like that on the colored side.
That's smart. Good giant.
And that's an inside layer, right?
So that's going to be your exterior color layer right there.
Oh, it is the exterior.
Yep.
Okay. So it goes exterior, then it goes...
So we go exterior, face down here, okay? And then you will start to build your wall from there.
Okay.
So from there, you have Azdel pieces that are over there on the other side of this machine.
Gotcha.
Those Azdel pieces will then go through that machine right there. That's a glue machine. First layer is going to be that 4.7 millimeter Azdel. That's going to be just right behind your FRP material. 4.7 millimeter Azdel is going to get a double-sided glue process, okay? So then it's going to be in 4x8 sheets. They're then going to put those sheets over where they need to be, laying everything down just right. Then they'll go and they'll grab the wall here, pick up the wall, lay it down just right exactly where it needs to be. Then they'll take more Azdel, okay, that's also got your wall vinyl on it. They'll put it through a single-sided glue process and then lay that down over top.
Wow.
Once they lay all that down, it goes right through there. That's your pinch roller. So it'll be pinch rolled at 80 pounds per square inch and then push through the other side. Now we can go over there. takes a lot of research, a lot of like constantly trying to evolve this process for the best. So over there, that's where all of those freshly laminated walls go to just sit. Okay. So they will sit over there for about 24 hours. I guess while we're talking over here by our lamination table, we can touch on some of the differences between like Luan and Asdale in the lamination process. We, I think, touched on it a little bit in the tour there, but if you are using Luan, okay, you can't put too much glue on there because Luan doesn't really soak up that glue. So with Asdale, it allows us to use even more glue, okay, than what you would typically see in a Luan application. So Asdale, they recommend a certain amount and we go above that through our testing. So we found out that yes, that is a great recommendation, kind of a one-size-fits-all solution, but for us, it works better if we use even more than that. We've kind of found the sweet spot there in lamination.
Smart.
Again, for a much stronger bond.
So you use no Luan.
In our like ceiling, that is going to be Luan material, but nothing structural.
The advantage to Asdale is
Antimicrobial,
and
it doesn't hold moisture. Nope.
So less chance of mold, mildew.
Like with a Luan piece, like if it got wet, it would swell. So if it swelled, then you could have delamination, other issues from that.
Sure. So this is just basically almost like a soft, like a fabric board.
Yep, it's got so one side has what they call like scrim.
Oh yeah.
That's going to help in the bonding process.
Okay.
And then that's your wall vinyl there. Yeah, then over there on the other side, there's another lamination table, and that's all doing small parts.
Okay.
These are definitely not small.
No.
Well, it has to be long enough to hold the longest
Wall, yeah.
sidewall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Model G sidewalls,
Yeah, the
those
4100.
are pretty big. Yeah.
Is that the longest one, 4100 now?
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. Over here, this is where all of our sidewalls go to just kind of sit. Okay. Not necessarily cure, but we just don't want to like move them per se. Just quite yet at this stage. When they are ready to go, then these tables through here, they'll move over on that other side of the wall there. On that other side, they're going to be cleaning the wall and then also routing out your windows, your entry door around your slide box, you know, fascia there. But the amount of cleaning that they do through this process is something that really sets us apart. Every step along the way, they're cleaning, they're wiping down, they're just making sure, and that also helps them keep good tabs on just the overall quality of each sidewall.
Now, is there like a PDI section over here for these, an inspection section?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, I think, in the tour there, but we do a couple of different tests to each and every sidewall that we laminate. So when we go over there, we can kind of dive into that a little bit.
This is one long wall.
This, I believe, is a Model G.
Jeez,
Just because I think that is the kind of drop chassis storage there. Little notch. But that's what an unfinished wall looks like. So it doesn't really look like a coach yet. You know, it doesn't have the curve there in the front cap area. It doesn't have all your windows, entry doors, etc. routed out yet. Pretty sure that this is what will go into each manufacturing facility. So you can see those trailers over there. Those all have sidewalls on them that are ready-made for each manufacturing facility's demand. So they sit over here until they're ready to go into the plant to be used on the line.
And like you said, they're not going to sit outside. So these hoists basically just clamp onto these and move them.
Yep. So yeah, it'll pick them up right off of there, and then they'll load them on the trailers. So that right there looks like a Model Z Air or Model I floor.
Okay.
Yeah, actually probably Model I. But yeah, again, same kind of construction there. Now we talked about how do we test every single wall. Okay, so when you route out, you know, your windows, your entry door, pass-through door, we will take each of those sections, kind of cut them up into smaller pieces, and then put them through what is called a drum peel test. We do that test over here. So you can see these are all fall pieces here.
Can they recycle that stuff?
Well, they recycle it, I guess, by testing it.
Yeah.
They're using it as testing.
Yeah. But yeah, that is essentially what our drum peel piece would look like. They cut it into about that size, and then they take part of that end there, and they will put it into this machine right here. And what that machine is going to do, you push that in, they'll clamp it down in there, and then they'll peel it backwards. So it will eventually break the sidewall. Now what they're doing is they're looking at what pound per foot there that it breaks at, but then they're also looking at where does it break. What we don't want to see is any kind of glue pulling apart there. That tells us lamination did not go so well. They will then check other spots there in the coach. Our lamination people, they have it so dialed in though, they don't ever have to do that. But this is checks and balance. Yep. Just straight up sidewall testing back here using those sample pieces. They want to see it fail in either the Asdale or the foam or basically anything else. But yeah, once you have a finished sidewall or small part or aluminum framing for main floors, they'll all get loaded up into these trailers, hang out here until they're ready to go online.
Yeah, this place is huge.
And
It's huge when you don't have walls.
It's huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you can tell, plenty of space to grow into.
We really want to thank Eric and Brinkley for allowing us to tour the Brinkley Lamination Factory. I mean, that was an amazing tour.
Yeah, it was super informational and really cool to see how our RVs are built. Like, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just to watch that whole process, it was just truly amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any comments about the factory tour that we just took, please drop them below. Until next time, safe travels, stay adventurous, and keep living that real trailer life. Bye-bye.
See ya.